What excites you most about getting to Oxnard and taking in some Cowboys training camp? Is there anything in particular that really catches your fancy here?
Yeah, absolutely. The 68-degree weather. Get the hell out of here and go spend 3 weeks of the summer in 65 to 75-degree temps. Hang out on some beach bars. Maybe eat some clam chowder. Yeah, I mean that is the true answer. But yeah, I mean there's a ton of storylines that are worth getting excited about for this Cowboy team. I think mainly just seeing who steps up, because the Cowboys have sort of put themselves in that situation where I think the only way they get better as a team in 2022 is if guys really make big leaps that maybe we don't see coming, whether that's CeeDee Lamb stepping into the spotlight as one of the better receivers in the league, whether that's Micah Parsons continuing his trajectory, maybe guys we aren't even talking about, a guy like an Oso Digizua becoming a stud defensive tackle, or Tyler Smith really living up to the expectation that's on him. I mean, that's what it's going to take for this team to build on last year, is guys doing things that maybe we don't expect of them. So it'll be exciting to see who looks ready to do that.
It's funny you mentioned the defensive line specifically, David, because I think one of the things that we haven't been talking about much is, this run defense last year was not good, giving up, 4.5 yards a carry. But can this defense, especially in the interior, whether it be Gallimore, also Digizua, can they find a way to generate some kind of pass rush up the middle to make this defensive line a little bit more versatile, to be able to help guys like, DeMarcus Lawrence and, Sam Williams and Dante Fowler Jr. and others on the outside be able to have a little bit more success getting after the quarterback this year?
I mean, the answer, if the question is can they, the answer is always yes. It's a matter of will they. I mean, and unfortunately, the whole time I've covered this team, D tackle and safety are kind of similar in the sense where you're constantly waiting for that playmaker to emerge. You're constantly waiting for them to find a guy that can really do it. And they actually, finally, after a decade, they finally did it last year at safety. Jaron Kearse kind of growing into his own as a leader and a captain caliber, Pro Bowl caliber player. Maybe it's time for one of those guys. And yeah, going back to what I was just saying, we've been high on Neville Gallimore's potential for 2 years. It wasn't really his fault last year. He got hurt, but I would say he didn't really deliver on the expectation that people placed on him coming off his rookie year. And now Osa's right in that category as well, because I thought a really nice season for a rookie third-round pick, but you always want to be moving up, right? And so one of, or preferably both of those guys need to do that. And if they do, it could make a world of difference for the defense. We just haven't seen it yet. And that's where I get leery is, you do this enough years, you fall for a few traps and say man, I really thought that guy was going to be something in August, and it didn't really materialize. So hopefully they can buck that trend.
Talking to David Helman of FOX Sports right here on 105.3 The Fan.
Sounds so weird to say FOX Sports.
Yeah.
All of a sudden.
First of all,
it's weird for you.
Yeah.
It's weird for me, man.
Helman, one of the things that I've been fascinated with, and I feel like I've asked a whole bunch of different people this same question, but I just keep looking at this wide receiver core and asking, why don't you go and add a veteran, on a 1-year contract just to, bolster what you have here and help, cushion the blow should you not have the guys step up in the way that is kind of the idea of this entire training camp? Do you get a feeling that that's something that the Cowboys could, do or have on their radar at all?
Just out of curiosity, have you gotten a satisfactory answer to that question from anybody?
I think the closest I got was Bobby, where he kind of likened it to the idea of what they did with safeties last training camp, where they came in, saw a little bit of what they had, and were like, oh, no, let's go get Malik Hooker. And that's kind of the idea, the only thing that I've gotten that's close to satisfactory.
And that's, I guess what I want to say is I hope that's what they're thinking. I hope that is their philosophy because if they're just sitting pat, like, yeah, man, we're good, then that's really troublesome. And, like, I get it because on paper, maybe you can talk yourself into it. Like, you've got CD, this great young receiver. You're really hoping that he's going to make a leap. You drafted Jalen Tolbert. You signed James Washington. But I just wrote about this, actually. I wrote for Fox Sports today, just like some areas of the roster that really give me some anxiety, that really kind of give me pause about what they're thinking. And receivers right up there at the top, because in the spring, we saw it. James Washington hurt his foot. Michael Gallup is still hurt. And I mean, that's to be expected. I don't want to make it sound like he's behind schedule or anything, but like Michael Gallup's not available. James Washington hurt his foot. And then Jalen Tolbert hurt his hamstring during OTAs. And so, like, for 2/3 of the offseason program, we were watching CD and then Noah Brown and then just a whole bunch of guys that nobody's ever heard of. Like,
put some respect on TJ Vasher now. Put some respect on TJ Vasher now.
Look, no disrespect intended toward TJ Vasher, but there's no way that anybody should be counting on him as, like, as a guy. Again, going back to what I just said, ask me how many undrafted receivers I've fallen in love with during training camp, only to never hear their names again, because the list is very, very long. And so, yeah, like, you just kind of look at it and you're like, man, they're one tweaked hammy away from having a serious problem on their hands, because as of right now, you know, I don't expect Mike to do a whole lot at training camp. There's at least an outside chance that he'll miss a game or two. So I just look at it and I'm like, yeah, like, why do y'all think you're good? Like, why do y'all think that this doesn't need to be addressed? And the only answer that I can come up with is they want to evaluate what they have for at least the first week to 10 days of training camp. And, you know, maybe once you get into the second half of camp, like once you leave California, come back to Dallas and really start focusing on the season, if they really don't feel good about it by then, maybe they go shopping, or maybe they look at other teams' rosters for like a minor trade that they could do. I don't know the answer, but if they're not at least thinking about that type of stuff, then I think that's a huge mistake, to be honest.
I mean, Julio Jones would look good in the Cowboys uniform. Just saying, just throwing that out there.
I mean, and I wrote about this today. Is like, okay, just for the record, I do agree in the idea, like, Julio Jones now is not what you remember from a few years ago,
Sure.
And neither is T.Y. Hilton.
Mm-hmm.
T.Y. Hilton's the other name you hear a lot. But the funny thing is, like, I don't need 1,600-yard Julio Jones. I need a guy who can come in and catch like 3 or 4 balls a game for the first month of the season while Michael Gallup gets back on his feet. Like, I don't need a game changer. I just need a guy who can do the job. And as of right now, they're short on guys who have proven that they can do the job. So, again, I don't know if it's Julio or T.Y. or anybody, but maybe when the season gets closer, if they're not feeling good about it, maybe they look to that. I think I would, at least right now, yeah.
David, before we get you out of here, obviously a week away from training camp out in Oxnard, California. But how many training camps will this be for you this
10?
year? This will be your 10, 11?
This will be my 10th training camp, my 9th in Oxnard, because we did 2020 in Frisco.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So with that, always comes, the famous, Jerry party out at, at Nobu. Can you give us a story that can be told on radio of your favorite time at Nobu for Jerry's, training camp party?
Not on the radio, no.
That's why I prefaced it and said anything you clean up enough for radio that you could tell us of your favorite story at Nobu.
Oh, those are all boring.
I mean, like, what?
My brain.
And look, if you don't got anything there, I was going to ask you if, speaking of boring, if Brian Kelly, with his first media day in ages, did he say anything interesting? Did he get his LSU on to say anything interesting, or did he just continue with his boring Brian Kelly-ness?
I did. I mean, I heard him make a joke about the family comment. Honestly, like, I'm at the point, and like, I'm not unhappy with Brian Kelly, but I'm at this point in my sports career, like, I don't even listen to what people say on media day. I'm like, I really don't care. I just play the games and win the games. Like, I don't care if you say family weird. I don't care if you pretend to be Southern. I don't care if you're a jerk. I really just want LSU to win football games. So, like, I sort of had an eye on media day yesterday, but like, I don't really care. Maybe it's because like I've done too much of that as a job myself, but I'm just like, whatever, Brian, just win games. But as far as it is obviously the party's really cool. I think the main thing is just like you never know who's going to show up to Jerry's party because he knows so many people in so many facets of life. Like you might go and these people don't have to RSVP. It's not like, oh, Jerry, can I come? It's like, well, Al Michaels wants to drop by. Of course, Al Michaels can drop by.
Yeah.
Or like, if Chris Collinsworth happens to be in the area, he might be there. Or obviously, pretty much every network is based in LA. So like on any given time you're hanging out with Jerry, anybody that works for one of those networks might be there. The Jones family is super tight with Jay Glazer. So like, I think every time I've been there, it's just a who's who of like, oh yeah, like, every powerful and famous member of the NFL media is like hanging out on this deck at Nobu with me while I try to avoid like spilling red wine on my shirt. So I think that's that. I mean, it's not like super interesting, but like, it's just always surreal to sort of like look around and be like, man, everybody here is just in a tax bracket that I don't even understand. So that's always a good time.
Yeah, but soon, David.
Soon, David will be on that A list.
We're gonna get you the TV money here shortly. I know it.
Here's hoping, guys.